Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TopCyberPro podcast. This is founder and CEO Jim West, and we have a wonderful guest that's going to talk about a subject that's near and dear to my heart because it is the next wave of major tech disruption in all industries. And for folks that thought that AI was everything there is, AI is only going to be able to be even more powerful once we have more powerful chipsets, more powerful systems. And that next big thing is quantum. Quantum computing is going to take the whole world and even other worlds when we start talking about the communications part of it by storm. And we have one of the leaders and people working on the forefront of this technology. She sits on multiple boards, advisory boards. She's a consultant to many very global big companies. And she also is CEO and founder of a couple companies herself, which we're going to get to all of that piece by piece. But without further ado, I want to introduce Anna Hedegaard, who is going to give us a lot of perspective and insight into quantum security, quantum computing, and quantum networking. So, Anna, welcome to the Top Cyber Pro podcast.
Thank you very much, Jim, for having me.
So, let's get right into some of the great work you're doing with a couple of the companies that you run. So, the first one I want to talk about really is Quantum Prime. And what is the keen focus that Quantum Prime has or is trying to do for industry?
We are focusing on entanglement, and that's because entanglement will offer a new way of communicating that nothing that we can see now classical communication can offer. So we have QKD that is we can do it many different ways, and one of the ways of doing quantum key distribution is using entanglement, but entanglement will offer also support for other protocols. That means that that's a resource that will support future quantum internet, and quantum prime is developing hardware that will be able to support networks, terrestrial networks, but also space networks, since we located in a space city in Bremen in Germany.
And I can see the poster behind you for the Artemis right there behind you.
There's
Uh,
plenty of space
yeah, there's a
over
lot of
there
space stuff there.
because we
So,
have Airbus also here in Bremen, and one
ah,
can always grab something from them.
awesome. Well, just for anyone watching, and you're hearing a couple terms, if you're hearing it for the first time, there's a couple of properties or utilizations of quantum physics, and one of them is entanglement. And entanglement is where these atoms, if you will, become entangled, and therefore, when one moves, the other one moves in the same direction. And what this is going to do for telecommunications and satellite communications and just telecommunications is we will hit the physical limits of what is possible with communications, meaning no matter the distance, how close or far these atoms are, they're going to respond in the same way because of that property of entanglement. So what this means is if you've ever heard about satellites when they send messages up or send a message to Mars and wait, there's a delay, there's a time because of the distance that like a radio frequency or some kind of other transmission type, it takes time for it to go through the vastness of space, and then of course the time for it to be received and then sent back. With entanglement, it's going to be instantaneous. It's going to be, like I said, at the theoretical limit of physics. And this is exciting because even though most people will think, well, don't we have real-time communications? Like right now, I'm on a Zoom call with Anna. And here's the thing that it appears to us as that it's near real time or wire speed, as most other people will refer to it. But there is a delay. There are delays. There's what's the word I'm looking for? Buffering. There's all these other properties that happen with our current networks and limits. And so entanglement is going to be, again, it's going to take us from what we think, 4G, 5G was super fast. This is truly instantaneous no matter the distance, and that's the key thing there. So with entanglement, is there anything that you are seeing right now with current discoveries and current applications of that? Is there what do you believe? Let me rephrase my question. When do you think we'll start seeing the first real world applications of this? Is it going to be 6 months, 18 months? Is it 3 to 5 years? Because we hear about all these time frames. But from your perspective, when do you think we'll start seeing real world applications of this?
Yes, so let me maybe add a little bit to what you already said about an
Okay.
entanglement. The important thing is that entanglement will not be really instantaneous. it is true that those particles, as you said, they are connected, but for actually using it for the exchange of information, we will always need also a classical link. So we will be limited by the speed of light. That will and that's very important to keep in mind that despite it's no matter what the distance, right? Oh, like, I can't show more than the camera can. Uh, then that is instantaneous, but our communication, the way we can exploit it, will not be because we always have to send actually classical information to interpret and understand what's going on with those systems. Um, and taking that into account, that doesn't mean that it's not amazing. That doesn't mean that it will not offer the speed ups. There is a lot of applications already. I already mentioned one. It's quantum key distribution. The thing is that when you use entanglement for distributing keys for the encryption, the additional, well, first of all, you have the true random numbers with that. That is the fantastic thing. And on top of that, it's secure for eavesdropping. That means that each time someone is trying to overhear the conversation, like ours, we will always know. There would be enough of error that we could detect it. And that property is uniquely quantum provided by quantum mechanics. And on top of that, because of the secrecy of that connection, right? And each time it's measured, it's used. You can now use it also for connecting quantum sensors or quantum computers. So you would have a distributed sensing, distributed quantum computing, same way as we having with the classical like Internet of Things. We will
Hmm.
have that as quantum devices. And when it comes to sensors, um, they will be, when they connected, they can offer even more sensitivity. So we will be getting to limits. We're probably going to be discovering fields on the levels that were not possible before, thanks to exactly these networked devices. And on the quantum computing part, this will be speeding up the adoption because we can network the quantum computers. The thing is that networking quantum computers is very different from networking classical computers because exactly they have to, to really enhance their quantum computing properties. They have to teleport states between each other to use entanglement. So, and then you can do more. You can do so-called blind quantum computing protocols. That means that you can outsource the computation to a computer that you don't trust. And that computer will do the job without knowing the data, understanding algorithms, but will perform the work for you. And if you think about it, that will open plenty of doors of collaboration and using the resources in the future um, between the countries and maybe also corporates, right? When they can just have one data bank and they can trust it to do the calculations. Um, yes, and this networking, we already see the first test beds. We see, so it's not anymore in the lab. It went out of the lab, it's being tested. But the broad adoption, we still need a lot of time and miniaturization also. At the moment, a lot of that hardware is too expensive for broad deployment.
Hmm. You mentioned, entanglement as a service for Quantum Prime, and a lot of folks are eagerly waiting for Amazon and, of course, their quantum service bracket to become a quantum as a service type of platform where, and also, obviously Google with Willow and as well as Microsoft Azure will probably have their own offerings where businesses, once they start trying to leverage the power of quantum circuits, it will be kind of a lease type service through their cloud offering. Do you believe that, when you mentioned that the technology and equipment is super expensive, Do you think we're going to see a moment when the technology will either become more affordable? Like let's think about when CDs replaced the floppy disk, right? And then soon it was DVDs, and then DVDs became, well, hard drives were cheaper, and then hard drives became solid state drive. So just in media, we
It's like
saw
my
rapid.
childhood, buying each time a new system.
Yeah, so it was always, always the technology was evolving, getting bigger, faster, and etc. But with technology, like computers used to cost like, five, six, $7,000, and they were not as fast as they are today. And today you can have $150 Chromebook, which is so much faster than what costs five, six, $7,000 20 years ago. So with that
Yeah,
being said, obviously when companies start looking into investments, they're not going to be ready to just jump in the pool and spend, hundreds of millions of dollars to acquire and maintain these facilities and technology. So obviously, cloud services or as a service offerings are going to be very attractive for a lot of businesses because they don't have to do that big initial investment into the equipment, the staff, and the environment that you have to operate these systems in. And so until we get that general purpose type of desktop quantum computers, which I think we're probably 8 to 10 years from that, in my opinion. But do you think that as a service platform, such as your Quantum Prime's entanglement as a service, when do you see is that already available to businesses today?
no, it's not. But I think this, as you were mentioning, I think we will see a lot of shifts of paradigm because of adoption of technology. There is need of staying competitive very fast, and it's not like quantum is in isolation. On the very beginning, you mentioned AI, and that's also not the only two players. You have also blockchains. You have all the other like robotics, other, there's just so much happening. And now to stay on top of the game, companies have to adapt very fast. And that means that some of them gonna be developing a lot of in-house. There is, we can see that especially like here in Europe, a lot of big concerns, they used to outsource everything. And now there is insourcing, so to say.
Hmm.
And that would be very interesting dynamic because on one hand you have this insourcing, and then yet again we see all this as a service. How that will play, I think it's going to be some technologies that you will have as a service a lot of like resources. Entanglement is a resource, it's just the entangled photons, it's just light. It's a physical resource as you have light in your cables right now, right?
Hmm.
That's that. I think that will be as a service, whereas I think the software as a service might become a bit more tricky. That's I think that there is at least a movement at the moment. It might not sustain the speed, just because corporate would like to have it in house to
Hmm.
control the development. That doesn't mean that they will be able to catch up with the speed of development. And I think we are now in this moment when it's like no one really knows.
Yes.
So a lot of big companies first open and they hire a lot of teams of specialists in something. They want to have everything on their own developed. And then they cut through, and they just start to procure or maybe buy small businesses, startups. So I think it's going to be the market will be deciding
Yes.
and we are in an extremely dynamic moment. And it's hard to tell what will be the long-term solution. I think that will also depend how much we will be able to provide with the power.
Hmm.
So it's nothing is isolated, right? If we do not have proper energy sources,
Yes.
then maybe the as a service would become a necessity because it will have to be government driven investments into the energy and data centers because the companies will not be able on their own to sustain the capacities needed for this development. I mean, we generate insane amount of data with AI. It's unstoppable, right?
Mhm.
We all have devices that are so much. powerful, right? Like as you mentioned, I mean, floppy disk, like
Yeah.
it was something,
I
that's
keep
what you get. Yeah.
these on
Oh,
my
you have
desk.
them around. Yes.
Yeah.
But
So you brought up blockchain, and a lot of folks that I talk to when we start talking about quantum, they immediately go, "Is blockchain going to be, vulnerable and exposed because of quantum computing's power and with all these plans of going to like 1 million qubits, 100,000 qubits, obviously there's going to be a race to see how many qubits they can align, and of course improve error correction, which the hope is that someone's going to figure out how to get error correction to like 99.99% error corrected, if not 100%. But what is your perspective on the threats to like blockchain that you think, because I know you have a background, you have a physics degree, so folks that know she is highly educated and heavily experienced. So, what is your perspective of the threats to blockchain with quantum computing as you see it?
well, they are real. They are based on a cryptography. They are based on the cryptography that, in theory, we have algorithms that could crack it. We are very lucky, I would say, that in the history we found the algorithms that can crack our cryptography before we have a hardware that is capable to use those algorithms to actually do the job.
Hmm.
And that's lucky because we have a chance now to develop cryptography that would be actually able to substitute what's going on the blockchain. And blockchain community, from one point, they are very agile because they can adapt. They are used to doing it as a community. But of course, they also have consensus mechanism, and that can be slow on. But they are moving. They are thinking about it. It's all the time on the discussion. They watch what's going on because their systems are based on the security and trust. And they are slowly moving to post quantum. There is also quantum secure blockchains. We actually on quantum security defense, we have a course on that. And it's because I think that blockchains, once they will also adapt to a new cryptography, they will find a lot of applications beyond what's going on. I think we still haven't explored possibilities of blockchains. They are just from the very beginning, and they will be used to allow the communication between all those devices because of how they distribute the connections, their consensus mechanism. I think,
Hmm.
and on also the trust that you can get through the blockchains will be more adapted, and they have to move to post-quantum cryptography. They adapt quantum random number generations.
Hmm.
So I find them actually as very proactive community that look at it, and there is a lot of open source. They share with each other, and they move much faster than other groups.
Yes. So you brought up the training and several courses that is on quantum security defense. And folks, don't worry about it. The links will all be in the description below. You just have to pause the video and start checking out these links. So they do offer a couple of free courses, and they do have a paid platform where you can get a lot of content, a lot more courses and certifications, and train. Most importantly, getting the training into this new technology and getting what I would say ahead of the curve, because when this stuff hits, I tell people a lot about IBM Qiskit, and I don't want to kind of go off to another platform right now, but they teach quantum software development so that you could start at least virtually on a quantum simulated circuit, test some quantum software development and learn their SDK and just start to get your hands wrapped around it, because I truly believe once the Fortune 100 companies, probably those will be the ones that heavily invest in the quantum as a service. But once they start trying to figure out how to translate their classic apps to quantum enabled apps, which will be somewhere down the road in the next 10 years, I believe that the first one or two waves of quantum software developers or rather translators, because they're going to have to try to translate the traditional over to quantum and vice versa. You're going to have that translation in between because, as you mentioned, even with the communications, even though you have entanglement, you're still going to have those traditional systems in between, you know. And so, yeah, so we're going to have some bottlenecks for a while. But with that being said, could you talk to us a little bit about what is the mission of quantum security defense and what is the why for quantum security defense?
Why started actually to really have open communication. That was very important for us. What we saw is that at this moment in time, there's gonna be always oscillation between the hype and total denial. And we wanted to make sure that we can have a platform when we can constantly learn from each other
Hmm.
and discuss things. And that was the first burst of excitement about quantum security defense. The next level was also because we met the founding team, we met through a defense conference, Quantum for Defense. And there was also this need of really talking what that technology is capable already now. If you want to apply it, what can you and what you can't, and what you have to work on now. So when it comes, you're ready. And
Hmm.
and from that, we started to have webinars. That's what it started. That's my quantum innovation webinars that I host together with my co-founder Steve Bale. And this is to invite people, but also have a lot of guests that can ask questions. So it's people from all over the industry, also from academia, to exchange information because no one is expert in that. It's going so fast. Every day there is new breakthrough, new, all it's the new achievements, new algorithms. It's hard to keep up. So the only way to keep up is to have experts that meet regularly and can talk about it and learn from each other. And I love it myself. So I encourage that's open part. We actually do it as a service to community. It's open every week. You can join. You don't have to be a member to join those webinars. And I think it's very important to keep it like that. And we want to have it like this. But we record them all and then we gather them on our paid platform. And that becomes a resource. So anyone that is a newcomer can come and basically binge watch all those guests and learn not only about the technology, but also about the market. That is very important. And that can be a huge asset if you want to invest, if you want to move towards those technologies, or simply want to compete also against the other players on the market. And I mean, it's a huge resource that we gathered by now, having it weekly. And then we have two courses, and that's also courses on a high level. So they are not teaching you actually the programming. I think those courses, we might move there eventually. But
Hmm.
at the moment, what we found is that the most important part is to really set what's real and what's not real, what's there. And that's what our courses do. When we teach quantum cybersecurity, we try to discuss all the technologies, quantum computing, quantum key distribution, post-quantum cryptography, and discuss where they are today. And then the same with quantum resilient blockchains, we we wanted to show that this technology is right here. There are things you can do to secure blockchains, how you do that, but on a high level.
Hmm.
There are a lot of, you mentioned the resources by IBM. I think a lot of universities, they are very good places to go very deep into actually programming. There is also a lot of GitHub resources.
Hmm.
We want to rather focus on educating professionals that are already typically in cybersecurity or they decision makers, and they need to know it for the strategy. Or they just want to know, is that something I should invest a lot of time and learn programming? So at the moment, our platform is mostly to discuss. and have um, this amount of knowledge to engage with that technology. And then we also offer, we work for the vendors. So we offer vendors an exposure on the way we communicate. We try to make it very approachable so we can talk about very difficult things in a conversational way.
Hmm.
And also, we offer our consulting services on a very high level strategy. That's a high-end product we have within the company. So we support in exactly the same thing. That's the main mission is always to distinguish what is what should be implemented how, and our immense power as a company is the fact that we are a community. It's not just us, the funding team, just the small group of people we are at the core, but because we created community around what we do, we have experts in everything. On the distance of the hand, we try to keep them close because wherever we have a project, we know we can reach out and say, "Would you like to join a consortium?
Yeah.
Please
And what a
work with
community
us."
that you guys have grown. I mean, we not only you have quantum physicists, you have research scientists, cryptographers, you have doctorates of various fields, mathematicians. Everybody is involved in this
Blockchain
community.
experts, anyone,
Yes, anyone. And
engineers.
so if you are a manager, an executive, it behooves you to get on quantum security defense and start ingesting some information because you don't want to be caught flat-footed. That's the worst thing you want to be caught. Anna, we could definitely talk for hours and hours on quantum, but I do want to respect your time, and we do have some agenda questions I want to get to. And this is my favorite question I like to ask all my guests. If we could go back in time to your day one, the first day you said, I want to go into the science and technologies field and I'm all in. Is there a story behind when you made that decision that you was going to pursue science and technology?
I have a very personal story, so it's something that's been with me, inside of me, that I was exploring for many years to figure out why. And it always been about teleportation for me. So as a child, I just had this like feeling about it, and it was keep coming to me in a very mysterious way. I was always baffled, like why me and why that. I had a lot of interests, and physics was one of them. It was not like particular, and I was the way I was brought up. There was no pressure like on choosing anything.
Okay.
Sometimes in a family you have like you should be
You
someone.
have to be a doctor or you have to
Yeah,
be an engineer. Yeah.
no, in my home was very open. Like my mom thought, she's a mathematician, so she thought that I should go and use the fact that I am good in natural sciences and in math and just choose something within that scope. But there was totally no pressure what it should be. I thought being mathematician would be like copycat, so physics was the second choice. But I didn't knew. And then that teleportation was always in the back of my head, and I didn't knew, like it was like really many years back now. Like we're talking like 25 years ago or something when I was really thinking about it. And then there was not a thing. It's not like you could be a quantum entanglement physicist, at least not to my knowledge. And I first thought I should be doing sci-fi, actually, special effects. And the only reason I didn't apply to study it was because they had a test for humanistic knowledge, and I was extremely confused. What would that mean? Because I always did physics and math, and was like, I don't think I can pass that test. I will just study physics, and so I just did study physics, electronics, telecommunication. I've been studying for many years, like nanomaterials, and each time I was making decision, I was like, how about that teleportation? And I got very like I will be just checking it or asking people at the university, and it never been around. Like it was always, oh, we don't have it, and I'll be like, okay, I can just do something else. It was. I still didn't knew, and actually, it was first 2 years ago that I was working as a patent engineer, and I was like, wow, if I could do anything, it probably would be that teleportation. But what is it, and how? And then I really got totally into it. I mean, it's not like I started from zero. I already had 2 degrees in physics, accumulated over years of studying. I worked as a patent engineer also on quantum computing patents and AI and blockchains actually. And so it's not like I just woke up in the morning and I had to figure it out from zero, but I was like, I want to do it as a career. I'm gonna
Mhm.
figure out about the teleportation. And this voice disappeared. I don't have what if you could do something else. So that's a very personal
Mhm.
journey to discover, but I'm very happy about it.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't go into that other course and degree. Um, so, along your career so far, and I know you have so many miles ahead of you in your career yet to go, but a lot of us have, mentors, professors, managers, bosses, coworkers, colleagues that have we either looked up to or impacted us in a positive way. So I guess the goal of this question is there any names of people that you want to kind of pay homage to and honor their names by saying these people have been very impactful to me and my journey so far?
The first person would be my grandpa. That was that's very important. As a child, he would be the one encouraging me to do the things on the border. What was allowed, I was. It was not a problem that I wanted to climb the tree or go on the roof, and do anything, whatever I wanted. And having someone like this, really understanding and sometimes even like, yeah, go, 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 don't worry, no one is seeing. Uh, that's amazing as a child to have, and I think that's like that really stayed with me. This that you have place in the world where you can just be, and that was a wonderful childhood to have. And then later on, I was very lucky. I was having a lot of teachers. I mean, it would take forever if I mentioned them all, but I had wonderful teachers. And later on was also at the university, some professors, but someone that really stuck with me also for entrepreneurship would be my boss when I worked in Denmark at the company called Newtech. They are making uh, machines for sorting potatoes.
Okay.
And yeah, and I got the job. I was their first physicist to work there. And the owner of the company had in my opinion, amazing way of leading. He would really care. He loved tech. It's like a 15 or 16 years back, he was already using AI on sorting of the potatoes. He was he loved being with people that do things, learning from them, and simply seeing what do they need to keep on growing and bringing tech to the company, and he really cared that people are satisfied. If he brought smart people in, he cared that what they do, they passionate about, and people work their lifetimes. And they do anything from assembling machines to exactly doing AI models or spectroscopy. And I was doing their actually synthesis of quantum dots for the filters. That was what I was working on. And, and it was all done with this respect. I loved it. So he inspired me a lot. I learned there that I could be a leader myself. And that's how I think it stayed with me. Then I went to study and I had an amazing professor in US, Professor Kozłowski, and he was really believing in my vision. So there was kind of like my grandpa. I think I just from time to time meet people that are kind of like a grandpa, they just create space where they allowed me to grow. And that was really nice. And now I think I'm just learning from everyone. Like I also grew up in like an open house. So my
Mhm.
grandpa's house was an open house, and there would be always people coming in and sitting at the table and discussing anything from politics, economics, everything. And I was always allowed to sit with. I was never like shoot away from that. I always get to entertain the guests when my grandma was fixing the cake, and uh, and I think this. this being with people and learning from them, listening, it stayed with me. And it's like my biggest resource is, oh, I don't know how to do it, but I'm gonna go and listen and be with people when I am the only one that
Yeah.
don't know. And I sit there and I try to absorb. And so my mentors is everyone, and nowadays we have books and I read a lot.
Mhm.
If it's even if it's not books, I read posts, I search for knowledge. I'm also lucky I work with people that are much better in a lot of things, like Steve, with whom I'm doing quantum security defense. He's much better in business that I am, have way more, and I'm learning every day from him. In my QuantumPrime, my co-founder there, Pavel, he's so good with like engineering things and actually building stuff. And I love observing him when he's in his element and just learning how to do things. So having people that are better than you, it's
Yes.
always amazing.
Iron sharpens iron, or steel sharpens steel. Uh, so this is a part of the podcast where I ask. It's kind of a moment of levity. These are just short, rapid fire questions. There's no right or wrong answer. So if you will indulge me for a moment, I'm just going to ask some silly questions just for fun. So I'm going to hit you with the first one: cake or pie?
It's summer, so pie.
What kind of pie?
Maybe apple pie. That's
Hot or
always good.
cold apple pie?
Warm
Warm apple pie. Okay. Is a
with
hot
an ice
dog
cream, with an ice
with
cream,
ice
with
cream?
vanilla ice cream.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Ooh, hot dogs.
Hot dog's just a hot dog, not a sandwich. Okay. This one's going to divide the tech community. So, are you a fan of Star Wars or Star Trek?
Both, but because of teleportation, I will go more with Star Trek.
Star Trek. Okay. What was your favorite cast or crew of Star Trek?
I am not so much into old ones, which probably is very controversial thing to say, but I loved actually the new movies. I just
The new
and it's
movies. Okay.
because I really appreciate the tech and the way one can do sci-fi movies nowadays is just so much more advanced. I love it.
Okay. No
Sorry,
worries.
guys.
It's okay. What has been your most favorite book of all time that you've read, and what is the last book you've read?
So something that really stayed with me was as a teenager, I read all the sagas of Ender's Game
Okay.
by
Yeah.
Orson Scott Card. I loved it. It touches on everything from like space exploration for someone that don't know the books. I highly recommend them. They very philosophical. They have the space exploration, as I say, but they also have the high intelligence, like aspect of AI, and so it's a many books. Um, those were the books definitely as a teenager. I was like, wow, that's cool.
Hmm.
And recently, I was just looking it up actually on my Kindle. So I read a lot of recently like psychological things. So it would be Dare to Lead by Brené Brown, for
Oh,
example.
yeah, from
So
Houston.
I gravitate towards leadership and psychology recently.
Okay. So a lot of us professionals, we have demanding careers. You're running multiple businesses. You're an advisor, a consultant. You have a lot of hats you wear. You speak at so many conferences and events. It's just crazy. So if anyone wants to follow her on LinkedIn, I'll have her LinkedIn below. But she is always on the go, always engaging with people everywhere around the world. But a lot of us do try to make time for nonprofit, charity, volunteer work, whether we give of our time, our money, our energy, and we try to make time for the things that are causes near and dear to our heart. So the goal of this question is there any nonprofit, volunteer, charitable organization that you just want to mention the good work that they do? It doesn't have to be tech related, but is there a cause that's near and dear to your heart and that you want to shine a light on an organization that we could, mention them now and then put their link in the description?
So I will mention people here locally because I mean, when I build a community, despite I build a community globally, I really care. I was also brought up like that to really care what's going on, close to home. So I live in Bremen, and here is amazing team doing a monthly female founders coffee club,
Okay.
and I started there, and it's fantastic. You can just come there as a woman and also not, but it is aimed as for women, and you can talk about your idea from zero, from nothing, and you sit with people and you get to know them, you get to know their struggles. It's amazing work they are doing, and I still, wherever I have time, I go there to still benefit from it, but hopefully also give back because I grew so much. So maybe new people, I can share my experience, and I totally love it. And I hope they're gonna continue. And I know whenever I talk about it, people's like, I wish they had it something like that in my town.
Mhm.
Because it's like an early business club, basically. Fantastic organization. I myself, I still have a lot of mentors, but I also try to offer mentoring to students at the university, also here in Bremen, and then share. So actually, they've been working with me now on like a game race of AI, cyber war thing to teach the cybersecurity, quantum cybersecurity in a fun way. And I really enjoy working with them. And I hope they benefit from this entrepreneurial spirit that I bring for their courses. Yes, I mean, I don't really have that much more. Like typically, it's still somehow. I am from a teacher family, so teaching is how I give back. That's my way of contributing. And as I told you, like we keep at QSECDEF still at Quantum Security Defense, we keep our webinars open, and that I also consider our contribution, to community.
Mhm. And the industry is better off for it. And so, Anna, thank you for all the work you put into, quantum security defense, quantum prime, all the advisory boards you sit on, and all the consulting you do. It's making the industry better and prepared for what's going to be the next major disruption in technology. And whether it's in 18 months through 3 to 5 years or 10 years, folks, it's coming. It's better to be prepared than left flat-footed. Anna, with all my guests, I offer them the final word. So whatever you like to say, the floor is yours.
Wow, that's a difficult thing to say the last word. Like, I guess follow me, and I hope to connect with everyone and learn from you. If you have something that you would like to share with me, or I should know that you are doing an amazing project, I would love to hear about it because I always learn and I'm always surprised about people being extremely smart and creative from all over the world. So just reach out, join the community, or just, say hi wherever I am on a conference and you're there.
All right. Well, folks, all the links that we've talked about will be in the description below. Check them out. Start learning today. Learn something new. So that's been the Top Cyber Pro podcast. Anna, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Jim.